Ain't What They Used to Be by Mercer Ellington. And you're like, that last name sounds familiar. Well, that's because Mercer Ellington was the one and only child of the composer, pianist, bandleader, and jazz legend Duke Ellington. He led his father's band for 20 years after Duke's death and has become famous for many of his own compositions as well today. Mercer Ellington later became the first conductor of a Broadway musical to his father's music, which is called Sophisticated Ladies. And so this first song that First Edition will be performing, once again, is Things Ain't What They Used to Be. It was originally recorded in 1942 and became one of Mercer Ellington's most known songs. Please enjoy Hoover First Edition.
that one had a lot of soloists, so I'm bound to leave someone out or call them the wrong name. Let's see, Thatcher Jones on tenor. We had Jack Freeland on trombone. We had Sam Kirkendall on trumpet. Joe Graves on trumpet. Holden Lee on piano. And Natalia? Natalia on alto sax. All right. Cool. And that was arranged by Alan Baylock, who it was fun when we were in New Orleans. He actually came to our concert that we did there. We were playing one of his pieces called Torque, so it's always great to play one of his arrangements. So the next tune we're going to do, we're going to have two guests. We're going to have Mr. Ernest Eccles, and then we're going to have someone I've looked up to musically for decades. He is a member of the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame, incredible trumpet player, Mr. Bo Berry. And they're going to join us on My Little Suede Shoes, although I know Matthew has a great introduction for that. But let's, if y'all want to go ahead and meet Mr. Bo Berry and Ernest Eccles.
Who here likes birds? Well, this chart is by someone they call the bird, Charlie Parker, a really famous alto player. He's actually the original creator of bebop style, so like a really fast style of jazz, like that. And here's First Edition, playing My Suede Little Shoes.
Hello. Hello, I'm Mello. Y'all might have seen me before. Y'all might see me again. And I'm going to be talking about Strutting with Some Barbecue by Lillian and Louis Armstrong. And this is a really great chart, you know. And Lillian was a great pianist and vocalist. And she inspired like many women in like jazz in general. And I may not know a lot, but know a lot about Louis Armstrong. He was a great vocalist, great trumpet player, really could sing through the trumpet like he was a vocalist. I mean, that's pretty crazy. And he created something called scat singing. Y'all know that? You know what I'm saying? And he had a great skating. And Strutting with Barbecue, if y'all didn't know, it's a fun fact. Barbecue meant girlfriend. So the song Strutting with Some Barbecue, strutting with your girl. But that's all I got for y'all.
let me introduce solos from the last two tunes. On that tune, we had on drum set, Chris Hicklin. We had on trombone, Mitchell King. Killing those high notes on the trumpet back there, Tyler Stevens. And on the tenor sax, Ryan Wood. Okay, on the previous tune, the people I didn't introduce yet, on lead alto, on the alto solo, Maria Butler. And on trumpet solo, in addition to Bo and Ernest, we had Jay Glaze on the previous.
Okay, I'm going to introduce our next tune. This one is called I Remember Clifford, composed by Benny Golson, but this is actually about Clifford Brown in remembrance of him after he passed away from a car crash at a young age. Benny Golson was from Philadelphia, and he was most famous for co-founding and leading the jazz tet with Art Farmer in 1959. So this is I Remember Clifford by Benny Golson.
flugelhorn.
Hello, I think y'all know me by now. I'm Mello. Today, this chart, we're going to be talking about Benny Carter. He made the Wiggle Walk. Benny Carter was an American jazz saxophonist, clarinetist, trumpeter, composer, arranger, and bandleader. Like, that sounds like so many things, but this dude's amazing. And during the 1950s through 60s, he wrote various arrangements for vocalists like Louis Armstrong, Ray Charles, Ella Fitzgerald, and so on and so on. And if you're feeling a groove throughout this chart, there's no shame in getting up and, hitting a little dance, you know what I'm saying? Like, without being, y'all enjoy this chart.
All right, we have some new soloists on that. A new face on piano over there, Paxton Steve. Also, trumpet solos, we had Jay Glades, Tyler Stevens. And on tenor sax, Ryan Williams. Okay, this last tune we're going to play in our set, and after which we'll invite all the band members to come up and play second line with us. But this last tune, Mr. Bowberry and Mr. Eccles are going to join us on this. And it also has a lot of other solos. We have Ryan and Lucas and Maria and Easton, and then we're gonna hand it over to the professionals at the end of all that soloing, and we'll have Mr. Bowberry and Mr. Ernest Eccles join us on that. And Paxton has some solo in this too. So this is a fun chart called, well, I'm gonna let Aaron introduce it.
And so this last chart that Precision will be playing, like Miss White said, is called Cottontail, and it is by Duke Ellington. Funny enough, we've started our concert with Duke Ellington and ended it off with Duke Ellington. And that just tells you how much of an influence he has had as jazz and an art form as a whole. I'm going to give you a few more facts about him since I've used up all the other ones from previous slides. Ellington was born in Washington, D.C., and that's where a Duke Ellington School of the Arts now educates talented students who are considering careers in the arts by providing art education, but also academic programs to prepare students for post-secondary education and professional careers. Furthermore, I think most of us know what the Essentially Ellington program is. Yeah? I think First Edition would know. Last year, they went to the Essentially Ellington High School Jazz Band Competition and Festival, and it is a nationally renowned annual competition for prestigious high school bands. It started in 1996 at the Jazz at Lincoln Center, and the festival is named after Ellington because of the significant focus of the festival that takes place in his works. So this very last song is Cottontail by Duke Ellington. Enjoy.
Bye.